First extension in the list is PowerShell. With the help of this extension, you can write and debug PowerShell scripts directly inside VS Code. It also provides you lots of predefined commands, and you can easily add commands. Next in the list is Remote Explorer. This extension lets you use any remote machine as your development environment. But first you need to set up a SSH or a virtual machine on Azure. Git History is another very useful extension. You can check Git history of any file by pressing F1 and then selecting View File History. You can view all the commits of that particular file. Also by pressing F1 and then writing git, you can run lots of git related commands. This extension has all the useful snippets for JavaScript, React, Redux and React Native. You can explore snippets for basic methods for React Native, Redux, prop types, console, React components, and React Native components. To use a snippet, you have to just write its short form and press enter. To import React, you can write IMR. To write console command, you can write CLO. With RAFC, you can write a functional component. Next is better C++ syntax. Its sole purpose is to improve the color code for C++ language for any theme. Next extension is actually a theme based on GitHub. The code will look like it is written in GitHub. As you can see, this dark theme in GitHub is similar to the VS Code theme we have just used. In GitHub settings, in appearance section, you can change the theme to light. Now this is a lighter theme of VS Code. You can set the same light theme from this extension. So this is just like the light theme of GitHub in web. If you are using Go in your VS Code, you will need this extension. This will help you in code completions. Auto close tag will automatically add HTML or XML close tags. It will help you to automatically close the tags. It also comes handy in other languages like React or JavaScript. If you have a VS Code version later than 1.16, it has a built-in support for close tags for HTML. So in that case, you do not even need this extension. GitHub Copilot, a very famous AI pair programmer. This is the world's most widely adopted AI developer tool. It provides code completion for many languages directly in VS Code. But first you need to sign up with an individual plan, or sign up with Copilot Business or Copilot Enterprise if you have a bigger organization. Viter is an extension mainly used for Vue tooling. Suppose you are developing a Vue project. By default, VS Code doesn't have any syntax highlighting support for a Vue framework. First you need to install this extension. Then syntax will be highlighted for your Vue project. It will also enable code completions. On the top of that, there is support for cementing, highlighting, snippet, emit, linting, error checking, formatting, IntelliSense, and more. There is also an extension for JavaScript code snippets. It has different snippets for import-export, JavaScript methods, and methods for console log. For example, with IMA, you can import only a portion of a package. But this JavaScript ECMA7 plus React snippets extension that we have previously covered is better, because it has snippets for latest version of JavaScript and also snippets for React components and React Native components. Another very famous extension with the YAML language support. So if you are working with the YAML language, you may consider to install this extension. Next is LiveShare, which enables real-time collaborative development with others inside VS Code. After installation, you will see a LiveShare button at the bottom inside status bar. Upon clicking, it will ask to sign in using GitHub or Microsoft account. After signing, you can start collaborating with others. Next is auto rename tag to auto rename paired HTML or XML tags. Its benefit is that you can rename the starting and closing tag at the same time. Even in my workflow, I find it irritating when I have to change the starting and closing tag separately. So with this extension, it has become really easier to do. VS Code Icons is simply an icon library. After installing it, you may note that icons for different files are changed. With the Remote SSH extension, you can open any folder on a remote machine using SSH. This is how it is connected to some remote environment, and as you can see, some file in the remote environment is opened and you can use all the VS Code features. This very popular GitHub extension with over 70 million installs lets you review and manage GitHub pull requests and issues directly in VS Code. After installing in this panel, you can manage your pull requests or your issues. With HTML CSS support extension, you can enable CSS and IntelliSense directly inside HTML. Suppose you have defined different CSS classes. Normally inside HTML, they will not appear in class or ID attributes. After installing this extension, you can provide the path for your CSS files in VS Code settings. Then suggestions for different class names will appear. Next is very popular Material Icon theme with over 21 million installs. You can set Material Icon by clicking on this button. You will see your icons for different files are changed. Next is IntelliCode API usage examples. With this, you can check real-world examples of different APIs. All you need to do is hover over a function call and then click on See Real-World Examples. Then different examples will appear before you. With Dev containers, you can open any folder or repository inside a Docker container. But first, you need to create a Docker project. After that, it lets you use a Docker container as a full-featured development environment. If you want to execute code directly in VS Code, you can use Code Runner. Suppose you have a code written in JavaScript. If you have Code Runner extension installed on your VS Code, you can simply run your code and see its output. WSL is another very popular extension with over 24 million installs, which lets you open any folder in Windows subsystem for Linux. Before that, you need a Windows system, and then after that you need to install Windows subsystem to use this extension. Next is extension pack for Java, which you need if you're working with the Java project. It will install a total of 6 extensions. This extension pack has everything for Java language, whether you want to test, debug, or want IntelliSense for your code. This extension is specially for C# language. It provides rich language support for C#. Next, we have C and C++ themes. This theme set has 4 variants: 2017 Dark, 2017 Light, then Dark, then Light. This is 2017 Dark theme. This is 2017 Light theme. This is Simple Dark, and this is Simple Light. Next extension with over 28 million installs is used to support CMake language. This is a code example of CMake language, and this is the first time I have heard about this language. GitLens is most famous Git-related extension in entire VS Code marketplace. It has a feature of inline blame where you can check who has made the commit. Also, it will tell you the time at which the commit was made. It will also tell you about the people who have made changes in the code. By clicking on this icon, you can check the previous changes in the commit. In source control panel, you can check various commits, and also you can check the files in which changes were made. With this, you can also use Git Kraken, which allow you to easily group and manage multiple repositories together, accessible from anywhere. Docker makes it easy to create, manage, and debug containerized applications. Before using this extension, you need to sign in into Docker. Then you will be taken to your repositories tab. Then you can create your public or private repositories or images. After a proper setup, you can work with Docker files directly in VS Code. This another very famous extension with over 31 million installs is used to support Java language. It contains Java linting, IntelliSense, refactoring, formatting, and more. ESLint integrates ESLint JavaScript into VS Code. It statically analyzes your code to quickly find problems. With the help of it, you can configure your own custom rules. Its main purpose is to suggest errors in your code. Next extensions are Jupyter Slideshow and Jupyter Cell Tags. If you are working with the Jupyter software, you may need these extensions. IntelliCode extension with over 38 million installs helps you in AI-assisted development. It helps you with the whole line auto-completions. It also provides you various suggestions of different methods. It will also help you in refactoring if you have a repetitive code. Lots of you may already have used this extension. As the name implies, this code formatter is used to make your code prettier. First, inside settings.json, you need to set prettier as your default formatter. Also, you can set format on save as true. Then on saving, your code will be automatically formatted. If you do not have semicolons in your code, it will add them on saving. Live server with over 44 million installs is used to launch a development local server. Suppose you have an HTML file and you want to run it in the browser. After installing this extension, you will see a Go Live button at the status bar. Simply clicking on it will install a development server. Now, as you can see, your HTML code is running in the browser at the port 5500. Again, clicking on this button will close the server. Jupyter Notebook Renders is another very famous extension with over 55 million installs. With the help of it, you can render charts, graphs, SVGs, JPGs, and other outputs. Jupyter Keymap is another extension for Jupyter Notebooks. It provides key maps for notebooks in Visual Studio Code to match the key bindings in Jupyter Notebook. This extension that supports C and C++ languages has over 59 million downloads. It provides IntelliSense, debugging, code browsing in both C and C++ languages. Now we have extension for Jupyter Notebook itself. This is actually an extension pack which has Jupyter Keymap, Jupyter Notebook Renders, Jupyter Slideshow, Jupyter Cell Tags that we have covered earlier. So with the help of this pack, you can work with Jupyter Notebooks directly in VS Code rather than in the browser. Now we are talking about second most downloaded VS Code extension. It is a performant, feature-rich language server for Python in VS Code. Pylance has the ability to supercharge your Python IntelliSense experience with rich type information, helping you write better code faster. Now we have a most downloaded extension for entire VS Code marketplace. It has IntelliSense, code formatting and refactoring, supports linting to suggest errors in your Python code. So all in all, it has IntelliSense through Pylance, linting, debugging through Python debugger, code formatting, refactoring, unit tests, and more.